Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas. We bring you the latest in everything cool every single day around here thanks to viewers, supporters, and sponsors like you. And I'm still getting asked by people how you sponsor EPN, and that's by going to gaming.youtube.com/EPNTV. They've only got that sponsor button on the YouTube gaming page, but this rundown is dedicated to our pal Kakiru Zerakoda. I had to read it because that's a hard one. I love this show. I watch this show religiously on G4 TV, and I want to use the washroom. I always wait for commercial because I don't want to miss a second of it. That is a ringing endorsement right there, and that's why this rundown is all yours. Looks like the UK government isn't going to be doing much about in-game loot boxes. The UK's Gambling Commission has finally weighed in on loot boxes following a huge petition in the country to get them classified as a form of in-game gambling, which followed the controversy surrounding Star Wars Battlefront 2 and other games like Middle-earth: Shadow of War. In a statement, the Gambling Commission says that loot boxes are not a form of gambling, and the reason is a little complicated. Basically, they say loot boxes aren't gambling because in order for something to be considered gambling, players have to have the ability to cash out and exchange their winnings for real-life money. You obviously can't do this with virtual items, even though you can spend real-life money to get them in the first place. This means the current UK government probably won't be doing anything about the matter, which is good for game makers who want to keep using loot boxes, but that won't stop lawmakers in other parts of the world. The government of Belgium is already looking into the matter, and earlier this week, state representatives in Hawaii vowed to create legislation to ban games with loot boxes from being sold and marketed to children. The problem is that the US has similar rules classifying gambling as something that involves the winning of hard currency, so they might run into the same problem as in the UK. The good news is that players already seem to have the power to get rid of loot boxes all on their own. The massive online backlash against Star Wars Battlefront 2 forced EA to suspend the microtransactions in that game, so if you really want to get rid of loot boxes, just don't buy them and publishers will take notice. And after forcing EA to make some big changes to Star Wars Battlefront 2, players are setting their sights on an even bigger EA title. An online consumer campaign called Fix FIFA has emerged to combat the microtransactions in the latest pro soccer game, FIFA 18, which launched in September. Specifically, gamers are angry about the microtransactions in FIFA 18's Ultimate Team mode, where players assemble a dream team of their favorite soccer champs. This can be done by just playing the game, but you can also speed up the process by spending real-life money. The gamers participating in the Fix FIFA campaign allege that EA has designed the progression system in such a way that it encourages players to spend real-life money, which is very similar to the complaints levied against Battlefront 2. The Fix FIFA campaign is no doubt emboldened by the success players have had against Battlefront 2, so they're hoping for the same success with FIFA. At the time we're filming this, a Change.org petition for Fix FIFA has 30,000 signatures, and participants have vowed not to spend any more money on the game until the issues are addressed. FIFA is actually the biggest game in the world, so you know EA doesn't want this to hurt the franchise. We'll let you know if they respond. It looks like all the dreams of Blade Runner 2049 will be lost in time, like tears in the rain. Blade Runner 2049 director Denis Villeneuve has commented on the film's surprise box office failure. In a new interview with Yahoo, Villeneuve says that he's still digesting why the movie bombed financially, but he thinks the reason has to do with the fact that the Blade Runner universe just isn't very well known, as well as the fact that at 2 hours and 40 minutes, the movie is longer than most mainstream films. Villeneuve adds that the failure of Blade Runner 2049 is especially disappointing because it's the best reviewed movie of his career, being universally praised by critics everywhere, including yours truly, but that didn't translate to ticket sales. All told, Blade Runner 2049 is expected to lose about $80 million for its distributors, making it one of the biggest box office bombs of the year. This actually replicates what happened with the original Blade Runner. That film also failed upon its initial release, but went on to become a cult classic on home video.
Things were simpler then.
Here's hoping that Blade Runner 2049 will see a similar resurgence when it hits home in the next few months. Sony and developer Polyphony Digital are making the latest Gran Turismo game a little better when you're playing offline. The new game, GT Sport, is getting a free update that will beef up its offline offerings and also give players 3 free new cars. The update, which arrives on Monday, will make it possible to play the game's campaign mode without an internet connection, as well as access the livery editor and photo mode. This is welcome news. When GT Sport launched last month, many players were disappointed to learn that a constant internet connection is basically a requirement, with only the watered-down arcade mode available offline. Worst of all, you can't save your progress when you're offline either, so if your internet goes out, you're out of luck. Unfortunately, you still won't be able to save your game offline when the new update takes effect, so hopefully Sony will address that in future updates. As for the 3 free new cars, they're the super-fast Audi LMP1 Racer, the old-school Shelby Cobra 427, and the sleek Zagato ISO Revolta Vision GT. This isn't the only new update coming to GT Sport. In December, an even bigger free update is coming, which will give players 12 new cars, as well as a new mode called GT League. That will see players compete in different competitions and endurance races, and sounds very similar to the GT mode from older Gran Turismo games. Sony hasn't said if this mode will be available offline as well. The Pokemon games are very effective when it comes to catching wallets. With the release of the new Pokemon Ultra Sun and Pokemon Ultra Moon on the 3DS last week, the Pokemon Company has announced that lifetime sales for the entire Pokemon franchise have now crossed 300 million units worldwide. This number includes every Pokemon game, including spin-offs, which is more than 70 games total, spanning more than 2 decades, with the notable exception of last year's hit mobile game, Pokemon Go, which is free to play. 300 million is an impressive figure and puts the Pokemon franchise in second place behind the biggest game franchise of all time, Mario, which has sold more than 500 million games. The next 2 biggest game franchises behind Pokemon are Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty, which have sold about 250 million each. The single best-selling Pokemon game is still the 1996 entry Pokemon Red and Blue, which sold more than 31 million copies and is actually the 8th best-selling individual game of all time. Looking ahead, an all-new Pokemon RPG is coming to the Nintendo Switch, which will be the first game in the main Pokemon series released on a console ever. That arrives next year. 2018 will also see the release of the first live-action Pokemon movie based on the 3DS game Detective Pikachu, and that begins shooting soon. Microsoft and Rare need all hands on deck to make sure that their new game, Sea of Thieves, is seaworthy. The pre-release testing phase for the new online pirate game is about to expand, giving anyone who wants to play a chance to try it out. The game's technical alpha test, which has been happening in limited form since the beginning of the year, is going to expand and extend invitations to all players who've registered, which essentially turns it into an open beta. All you'll need to do is sign up on the game's official website and have a valid Xbox account on either the Xbox One or Windows 10 computers. You'll also need to register before the test expands, which happens on December 1st. Sea of Thieves is the first big game from Rare in years and thrusts players into the role of a pirate in a vast online world where you can team up with other players to take on missions and plunder loot. It was first announced at E3 back in 2015, so many gamers are eager to see if it's worth the wait, especially given that there aren't many other big exclusives coming from Microsoft in the near future. The final version of the game sets sail in early 2018. That wraps up the rundown for today. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, we've got tons of other content for you to check out, so please do that. And if you dig it, hit that subscribe button, that little bell, and if you're so inclined, that sponsorship button too.